Hello, I'm Bob Harris. Welcome to Duraamen's educational series for industrial and decorative concrete flooring systems.
All right, you're probably good to start. So on an actual garage application, it is really a good idea to have at least one person cutting in like you're seeing me doing while Chris is running the notch squeegee, just to save time, because it's very time consuming to go around the whole perimeter wall or edge of a garage. So it's not a bad idea to have one person just cutting in like you see me doing while the other person is doing the notch squeegeeing and back rolling. Now, if it's a large installation, 3, 4, 5 car garage, might not be a bad idea to have a third person at least. So one person's cutting in while one person is running the notch squeegee, and the third person in spiked shoes is back rolling where Chris is using the notch squeegee. To recap, this color is medium gray, and it's only offered in tan or medium gray. All right, Chris is using a 3/8 nap roller, and he's using an 18-inch. And you can see what he did is he ran one direction, and then he's back rolling perpendicular to the first roller direction, and that just really levels it out quite nicely, as you can see here. It depends on the substrate and ambient temperature. You're looking at roughly 10-minute window here, so you know it's cool in the warehouse today for the purpose of this video shoot. And so now we're going to talk about broadcasting the color chips, or the color flakes. I'll let Chris go ahead and finish off his rolling here. You can see he's in spiked shoes, or the elevated shoes. Sometimes what I like to do is if I get a brand new pair of spiked shoes, I'll take a grinder and just take off the hard edge, the real sharp point, because I've seen it actually puncture and make holes into the concrete, which you sometimes will get outgassing. So it's not a bad idea to just kind of take off the sharp edges. Now, there's a variety of ways in which you can apply the color chips. Basically, I like to kind of loosen them up within the bucket because they become compacted if they're stored for a long time. Like right now, I can feel it's rigid in the bucket. They're not light and fluffy. So if you're doing an edge, for example, it could be as simple as coming in here and just broadcasting in this fashion. But what you'll see is professional installers, what they'll do is they'll just take the bucket and they'll come underhand, something like this, because it's very fast. You see how fast that goes down? Make sure you've done all of your material takeoffs accordingly too. You want to make sure that you look on the technical data sheets that are provided from Duraamen and make sure you order the appropriate amount of material. And then once you've done your material takeoff, and this includes the color chips, you're going to order 10% extra. The last thing you want is to run out on a job. Again, edges. You've heard me talk about it, I think 3 to 4 times now. This material does require a 100% broadcast, which is to refusal, like you see me demonstrating right here. You don't want to see any wet areas. Oftentimes what I'll do is I'll wait. Once I feel I have an appropriate amount, I'll wait. And that material, the color chips, will actually settle down into the coating material. And if you see a smooth or a shiny spot start to appear, you've got to give enough. So I don't know if you can see it in the camera right here, but I see that this is real shiny, which means I don't have enough of the paint chips right here. There we go. So I'll give this a very close inspection again. Oftentimes you can't force yourself to put enough materials down. We'll give this sufficient cure time. Depends on ambient and substrate temperature. In these conditions, 3 hours plus or minus. We'll come back. We'll sweep, vacuum, and then we'll scrape the chips that have landed on their edges. So we've got a nice uniform flush surface. We'll vacuum that, and we'll be ready for the next step. All right, we're here on our PU 100, and it's been 4 hours. 4 hours has transpired, and now we're coming back and we're sweeping our chips. I've already swept a little bit here. It looks beautiful. It's totally consistent, no bare spots, complete 100% coverage on our paint chips. Couple observations. You can see I have a line. If you're sweeping on a large area, it's a good idea to sweep everything into one line so you don't lose your place. Then you can go ahead and take a dustpan, pick that up, and then continue. On a large job too, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll blow all the paint chips into a corner. So for example, if you're working in a garage, you don't want to contaminate the outside on the driveway. So you intentionally blow the chips into the right corner or into the left corner, and then that way it's much easier to pick up the paint chips. So once we get the majority of the paint chips off, we're going to come back and we're going to scrape it to make sure that any of the angular paint chips that are turned up on their edge, we in fact scrape those back flush. And then once that's done, we're going to run a vacuum, and then we're ready for our top coat of our polyaspartic, which we're using the Purdue P72 in this case. We'll use it almost as a grout coat, meaning we're going to apply it with a squeegee, and then we'll back roll it with an 18-inch roller. And once that's down, this one-day system will be complete. So we got the majority of the chips off. We're going to go ahead and run the scraper over it. Now there's a variety of different scrapers that you can use. This just happens to be something that I have here at the shop. Anything to knock the ridges off. You can see the amount I'm getting off of there. Not a bad idea for insurance then. And that's it. We'll go ahead and vacuum this off, and then we'll install our polyaspartic top coat.
Oftentimes we get the question, can you reuse the paint chips that we've scraped off the surface? And the answer typically is, on the paint chips that you saw me sweeping off, as long as they stay on top of the coated surface and you collect it from there, the answer is yes, you could actually reuse them. You wouldn't want to reuse them after scraping, like here, because in essence what I'm doing is I'm cutting them in half, because it's the chips that are standing up on edge, and we're in essence breaking those in half. So it's not a good idea to use the scrape paint chips, but we do have installers that will sweep the paint chips up, collect them, put them into a bucket, and you can in fact use those. We've scraped and vacuumed our resin chips, and now we're getting ready to mix and then ultimately install our Purdue P72 polyaspartic coating. Because we've got an aggressive profile with 100% broadcast, we're going to be installing this at a ratio of approximately 100 square feet to up to 125 square feet per coat per gallon. Like we did earlier in another video, we'll pour out a ribbon. I'll cut in the edges, and then Chris will use a notch squeegee. It's basically a 5 to 7 mil squeegee that'll squeegee it down. And then once we get it all squeegeed down, we follow that with a back roll and then cross that with another back roll, and then we're good to go. A word of caution, you can see that the Purdue P72 comes with these caps. It is crucial really on both parts, Part A and Part B, but more importantly on Part B, once you've dumped the appropriate amount of material into there, seal it back up and put the cap on, because with air it'll start to harden without the activator or the Part A in there. So it's just good practice to seal both of them up as soon as you're done with it. So it's a 1-to-1 mix ratio. We already have 32 ounces of Part A, and then I'm going to, only for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to mix equal parts, which is 32 ounces of the Part B into here. But it's not a bad idea to have a separate bucket, put your half ratio here, your half ratio here, get a clean bucket, and then mix into a clean bucket. And that eliminates the possibility of off ratio. So you got to be pretty diligent about the proper ratios here. So we're going to mix for 2 to 3 minutes. And right there is our 64 ounces, as we talked about. I'm going to clean this off real quick. For now, put the lid on and then start our mixing process.